thank you. People are still walking in. I'm gonna try to move regularly, okay, between both sides, because I see that right now, hello, part of you absolutely don't see me, right? So this is gonna be fun, okay? I'm gonna move, don't worry. I'm gonna try to be on both sides, because when I'm right in the middle, it might be better for you, but I've got the projector right in my face. I'll sway, okay? So, today I want to talk about fluency, because it's kind of become a word that everybody talks about. I mean, the students now, they come to us and, I want to speak English fluently. Do they really know what it means? Do we know what it means? Like, accuracy is clear. Yes. You make a mistake or you don't, but fluency, and how we build up to that is going to be very important, because I'm a teacher too. Let's face it, we have limited time with our students. When students, they learn their native language, they have 7 years with their parents. There's loads of repetition going on, loads of correction. It's nice to have all that time. We have limited time for our students, and we also have limited time for ourselves. Your teachers, you have a life, right? Right? It's nice to remind ourselves of that once in a while. We do have a life. An unhappy teacher doesn't make, especially for a good atmosphere in class, right? You don't want to end up in 15, 20 years as those, grumpy teachers that we had at one point at school, which is like defeatist and completely no. We need something that is effective with our students, builds them up to fluency, simply, solidly, and we need something that is efficient for us as well, because there's a lot on our shoulders. We're teachers. Everybody expects, right? Fluency is this. So how are we going to build up to fluency? I'd like to start with my example. Do you think I can learn to speak Russian fluently? Yes. Right? Okay. Shh. I do speak a bit of Russian, don't worry. But the question is, can I learn to speak it fluently? Like, is this difficult Russian? What level Russian would you put this at? Я пошел в магазин, потому что у нас не было молока. Good. Well, thank you. B1? A2? A2 plus B1. It doesn't sound complicated, right? It seems obvious to you. You're native speakers. Good for you. Okay, this is what goes on in my head when I need to say this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm a man, so я пошел, не пошла, right? Okay, thank you. Wait. Пошел. Совершенный вид или несовершенный вид? Is it one time? Is it... Okay. В магазин. Oh, wait. Где или куда? Well, thank you. And then it goes even further with, to you, it sounds like A1, A2 level Russian. У нас. Right? But actually, it's if you're studying it grammatically, it's родительный падеж. It's not one of the most simple cases in Russian, right? У нас не было молока. Again, this negative switch and everything, it's something unnatural. Can I speak English fluently if all this is going in my head while I'm speaking Russian? This is not difficult, and I can learn the grammar, I can learn the vocabulary in theory. I can do a tick on my accuracy and be proud, yeah, pass the test. But if we're all speaking Russian together, you're not going to wait for me to construct my sentence, right? Yesterday we went out with the first day people, and when we switched, it was fun. Sometimes we switched from English to Russian and everything. Well, it doesn't matter how nice you are with me. A natural conversation, you can be the nicest people in the world, you're not going to wait for me to construct my ideas into a sentence, to form them. This is fluency, right? I need to be able to go from all that theory to fluency. I call it the triangle of death. There are so many skills when we're learning a language, especially at all the presentation, the lead into knowledge stage, where students make this kind of triangle between situation that I'm supposed to respond to, analysis of the situation, and then some kind of form that comes out. It can be grammar, it can be functional language, it can be vocabulary as well. You know, when you translate, right? I don't know, I see akno, right? Well, I see it in my head, that's the situation. Then I find the word in my native language, window, and then I translate it. It's too slow. What we want is, in our students, a fluency where it's just situation, form. So that whatever you want to say, it's just, the form needs to be automatic. Like we saw with the Russian sentence, all the things that I was thinking about, you would never think about that. You think it's super easy. Я пошел в магазин. So seriously, Antoine, like, you need to think to form that sentence? Well, yes. Совершенный вид, несовершенный вид. Whoa. Just Yandex. Yes, we don't Google here, okay? We Yandex. Yandex совершенный вид, несовершенный вид, to find out how many rules there are. If a student is learning совершенный вид, несовершенный вид in terms of grammar rules, there are 70 of them. It's ridiculous. If I learn that way, my fluency is not going to work, right? So, what is fluency? I like to define fluency in this way. It's a flexible use of what you know. Whatever skills my students have, even at A1 level, whatever skills they have, they should be able to use them in a flexible manner to adapt to whatever real-life situation they encounter, right? You know those dialogues that students sometimes learn because they're in the textbook? They go, you go to a train station, for example, in England. Hello, can I help you, please? Oh, yes, I'd like a ticket to London. Oh, that's £7.80. Oh, here's 10. Here's your change, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's nice. It's natural, and the students play with that, and it's great. But we know that we need to give them flexibility because there's no way they're going to have the exact same dialogue at the train station. What might happen is, hello, I'd like a ticket to London, please. There are no trains to London today. Flexibility, right? I can tell you, I've seen the same thing with Russian language. What I praise myself in Russian language is my flexibility. You will hear a lot of grammar mistakes. I need to work on that, and I am working on that, but my flexibility in Russian is so that I came here, I didn't even know the Russian alphabet, and I just heard and listened and picked it up. And I know quite a lot of foreigners, actually, who come to Russia because they finally want to practice their Russian. They studied Russian, in America, they reached C1, C2 level Russian. They came to Russia. Nothing. So first of all, very thick American accent. Have you ever heard things like, "Я пошел в магазин"? And there's also no flexibility when we're at the pub, for example, and somebody needs to call a cab. Because they're like, no, I'm not sure, my pronunciation, try, right? We need this flexibility, and that's what we need to help our students get. Now, I'm going to share 2 references today with you. If you have time to read, do. If not, I'm going to summarize in general what I find, what I got out of it for teaching. The first person is Daniel Kahneman, a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. He's an economist, Nobel Prize winning economist, nothing to do with teaching. But in that book, there's something absolutely brilliant, I find. He distinguishes two very different thought processes in the human mind. System 1, System 2. We have two different thought processes, and when we think about that, we usually think about our logic. That's System 2. It's something that the more adult we are, the more we rely on. And this is System 2. This is all the logic, okay? Asking yourself, why? Whenever your students raise that, but teacher, why? That's System 2. Super active. But System 2, because of its logic, is effortful. It's long. And so, the human mind also has a System 1. It's automatic, unthinking. All right? When you tie your shoelaces now, do you go, so the little bunny goes around the tree, down the hole. Do we have a clock in the room? No? Well, when you read the time, like the younger generation might not have that reflex anymore. It's not automatic. But us, when we see a clock, you read the time. You don't go, so the big hand is pointing at the 2. All these things are automatic. When you're driving a car and there's something dangerous, you don't need to think which foot. If you do, same thing goes, that's, when I read that, I thought about it really. This is perfect. It really explains what goes on in the minds of our students. We should have System 1, your native language. It's entirely System 1. You learned it at one point when you were a kid, and gradually, it was all made automatic. You don't think about I need to learn this, but to you it's automatic. And that's the problem. I realized that my students were using System 2 too much. The great thing about kids, young learners, is that they're much more open. So System 1 is much more open to forming new reflexes, new automatisms. The older we get, the more we rely on System 2 because, you know what, it's something solid. We know what we're talking about. It's my logic. It's strong. So I highly recommend it. Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, he explains all this from an economical perspective, of course. But I love this because now I can clearly see that whenever my students are faced with new information, something they don't know, System 2 is active. System 2 is dominating, and what I need to do is push whatever they're learning, whatever skill, grammar, vocabulary, chunks, anything, functional language, I need to push it to System 1. Right? Now, there are really loads of great methodologies on how to present new information, right? Student-led, teacher-led, depending on the content, things like that. I find they really all have great pros for different situations, different kind of students, different kind of classrooms. But what I want to present to you today is just a very simple, flexible way to look at the practice element. Because all methodologies, at one point, we go to practice. And I want to push throughout practice from System 2 to System 1. I'm going to do that in a very simple manner. Instead of looking at practice as a whole now, I have simply just divided practice into 3 clear, simple stages that I always do with my students. It is really more effective for them because you'll see we're not reinventing the wheel. Most of the activities you'll see are things that you've done before. It's not reinventing the wheel, but putting it into a system, a logical system from System 2 to System 1 is really going to help us. It's going to be more effective for the students because limited time, and it's going to be more efficient for us teachers to be able to plan for next lessons very quickly. Look, let's say we're teaching them something new, okay? Whatever methodology you use, they've got something new, a new skill here, and system 2 is thinking about it. They're trying to establish some kind of basic logic, right? The basic logic is our standing point. We need our students to feel that they're on solid ground. If there are any questions here, we can't go further towards system 1, okay? If system 2 is not confident, that's why I start all my practice always with what I call P1 activities. This is what you find in most textbooks. You find them everywhere online. Fill in blanks, things like that. I know it's old-fashioned, but you know what? Before we go into P2, into automatizing, I need to check very quickly that the basic logic is understood and accepted by every single student in the class. Or else I'm going to build the wrong reflexes. And maybe, for example, in Russian, I'll think that I'll confuse где или куда, for example. No, first, I need to very quickly establish, hey guys, we're on the same page. All right? This is a window, okay? Well, it doesn't matter how I present it, if it's student-led, teacher-led, at one point, very quickly, before we build reflexes, I want to check that everybody in the class is 100% sure and confident that yes, that is a window. Then, P2, practice 2 type activities. So these are things, unfortunately, that we don't have in textbooks. It's missing. This was, to me, the missing link from system 2 to system 1. These are drilling activities. We're going to drill until it becomes automatic. The form should become automatic, like with your native language. So here, P1, we basically check and test accuracy. Then we try to automate accuracy from system 2 to system 1. Last stage, we do need to test fluency. So practice 3 are little speaking activities. You know, productions are they're big projects usually. They're very real life, and students have preparation time. What I want to do, remember flexible use of what you know for fluency? What I want to do at this stage is very quickly push my students into a situation where they just have to react, using whatever they know. Just adapt, be flexible. It's not production, it's a bit different. Let's see some activities? Right? I keep forgetting the clicker over there. Just before we see some activities, last reference, highly recommend it as well. Psychologist Erickson, in 2008, he published a study in America on how experts become experts. How do you train experts? Why do pianists just go over the notes again and again and again? Why do sportsmen, for example, a football player is just going to play with his ball, you know? Tum, 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 tum. That's not real life for him. When is he going to need to do that in a football game? Never. Yes?
Because he needs to practice his skills.
It's called, so we call it practice 2 in our system just so that there's an order, but you're absolutely right. It's called deliberate practice. Psychological studies on how to train experts, expertise. And that's exactly what we want to do. Okay, first we're going to play a little thing called short answer race. You know the short answer race? Ah. Short answer race. Short answer race is very simple. And again, this is P2 activity. This has nothing to do with real life. Okay? Short answer questions, yes or no questions in English, have standard answers in textbooks anyways, right? So, am I sitting down? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Right? Well, actually, if I ask you, yes, you are. No, you aren't. Do native speakers always speak this way?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, in general, absolutely not, right? It's not common to just always speak in this grammar section kind of way like in grammar books. But we can still drill it Because remember, my idea is, let's prepare our students for this, so that in real life, when they're faced with this, very easy to adapt. You'll be able to play with a yeah, no, things like that, all those answers, fine. But let's drill it, because actually, drilling these questions, the students are just drilling grammatically correct questions over and over and over again, answering yes, 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 no, 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 things like that. They're training their ear, and you'll see what we'll add is a time component so that they train to speak faster and faster through competition. And the result is that they're really going to improve their listening. They're going to be able to answer immediately, like a native. Here's the beginning of the question. He already knows in what form he's going to answer. What have you... gotcha. And it doesn't matter how fast it said, what have you... I hear the, and I'm ready. We're going to train the reflexes in this way. So, very simple. We're going to do this one, okay? 6 cards, I cut them up, take them on the table, put you in pairs, and what you're going to do is basically, one student reads the questions, the other answers. The truth is absolutely not important, okay? Yes, no, it doesn't matter. Actually, depending on their level, you'll just build up in difficulty. If they're struggling, you tell them, okay, first always yes, then always no, and then you vary. I'm going to ask you right now, okay? I want everybody to answer. Am I sitting down?
Yes. No, you aren't.
Am I sitting down?
No.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Is she singing? Are we dancing?
No.
Are you working?
No.
Is he playing football? Is this practice too? Do you feel that it's more and more automatic? Yes? Thank you for that. But actually, this is not practice due yet, because you weren't stressed. I did play at the end. I started asking faster. You barely start answering, I started asking the next question. So I stressed you a little bit. But the key thing that we do in class for this is you add a timer. Challenge, challenge, challenge. That is the key to deliberate practice. So first, the students will do it like, I don't know, they'll do this in 8 seconds 33. Like, oh, good job, good job. Pair, 8 seconds 33. Oh, 7:51. Is there a right answer to this? What time you should do this in? No. Absolutely not. Different speeds, different levels. So this is great because actually here, there are no strong or weak students.
Excuse me, what do you mean no weak students?
There are no strong or weak students. The speed at which you speak does not make you a better or worse speakers.
I'm sorry, questions, but I know that there are some teachers from the school, right? Here. And in every class, in every secondary school, there are weak students, right?
Yeah, that's not what I was saying actually. What I said is that in this kind of activity, the students don't feel weaker or stronger than each other because there's no right answer. The teacher cannot say, okay, you have to do this in 3 seconds. If not, it's wrong. There's nothing. Let's do questions at the end, okay? So, all you need to do is add an element of time to stress the student, to push the student in their boundaries, and that's when the mind is pushing from system 2 to system 1. So you do it in 8 seconds 33, then you set yourself a challenge. 8:33, that was not bad, but hey, let's go for 7 seconds. A challenge has to be a challenge. If a challenge is achieved the first time, it is not a challenge. The students are not going to be motivated in the future. You might think that you're helping them because you're telling, hey, let's do something easy, don't worry, you'll get there and everything. But it's not good. Because in the future, their brain will not be stressed by this again. They need to be used to the fact that, hey, you know what? Yes, it is difficult, but we're building your reflexes so that in real life, it's automatic. So what we're doing now is we're setting real challenges, okay? Come on, 7 seconds. You try it first time. You improve a little bit your time, but it's not 7 seconds yet. Don't worry. Let's do it again. Come on. And you motivate the students in this way to push themselves to answer these questions faster and faster and faster and faster. You can use these, for example, short answer races are for grammar tenses, of course, right? That's what we're automating here. You can see that P2s, I will not stick to one grammar element, for example. Throughout the course, we do present continuous, we do present simple, and after some time, I mix them. Because, again, real life, you got to mix. Very few situations in real life when you're just sticking to one grammar tense in the conversation. That's a pretty cool conversation, right? Sorry? Police office crime. Yes, probably.
No, it's definitely because that absolutely definitely because there is a video for Pearson, My Grammar Lab. It is many of you have seen it, I'm sure, and it is based on the scene interrogation when the police officer and the criminal. He is not a native speaker.
I'm pretty sure at one point the police officer says, "Would you like a cup of tea?" Could you stand up, please? That's not past tenses. There's no conversation in real life that will only be in one grammar tense. That doesn't happen. So you keep mixing things up. And you can use these in so many different ways. Indirect questions. Same thing. Just take the cards, the exact same cards, and now the task is, as fast as you can, make the question indirect. Okay? I want to know if you're sitting down, blah, blah, blah. Boom, boom, boom. You drill it again and again and again. Reported speech, reported questions. Yes? Students love this. Again, exactly the same questions, but we call it now all people. Because it's just for fun. But you know the listening problem sometimes? So what you're going to do here, old people, the task is one card lasts longer. Am I sitting down? And you're supposed to answer, "Sorry, did you ask me if you were sitting down?" I go, yes, yes, I asked you if I was sitting down. The other student, you answer, "No, you're not." And then I play the old person as well. "Did you say I wasn't sitting down?" It can go on like that for a few times. And again, all you need to do to make it deliberate practice is add a time element so the students do it just faster and faster and faster and faster. It's stressful, okay? I was very happy when I started using this to notice that at the end of my lessons, my students were still very happy, but they were actually tired. I started teaching, honestly, I'm an engineer. I didn't know much. I started teaching. I passed the TEFL course, and in the school they were like, communicative approach, okay? Do communicative approach. I was like, okay. At the end of my lessons, honestly, 4 academic hours, students were like, already done? Maybe we can continue for another 30 minutes? I'm like, why aren't you tired? Like, I'm happy you're having a great time and we are doing stuff, but it's clearly not efficient enough. How many lessons do we need? This is stressful, it's tiring, okay? P2 activities, 5, 10, 15 minutes per lesson. And then you do something else. Other P2 activities. We're going to play a do-does race. How many of you have met those upper intermediate students still making mistakes with he, she, it plus s? A lot, right? Do you need to teach them that again? Now, if you do, they're not real upper intermediate students.
They are managers. Some of them are top managers.
It doesn't matter. They're still not upper intermediate.
They participate in negotiations at the top levels. They have to be very perfect and precise.
I know. That doesn't change the fact that if they're upper intermediate students with good upper intermediate grammar in general, vocabulary, functional language, they're responding well, but they still regularly make that he, she, it plus s mistake. I agree, professionally, in the real world, a lot of our students, the ones who love fluency and are very communicative, they're like, screw it. People understand, right? Well, you know what? When you make mistakes, the people who speak that language perfectly, they hear it, and it's always like, Presentation is very important in real life. We're not robots. We're humans. We're emotional. We're social. Presentation is important. So I tell my upper intermediate students, hey guys, we're going to work on it. But I'm not going to teach them that again. The P1 stage, remember? They know it. I might remind them very quickly of it, but if I have a whole lesson on present simple with my upper intermediate students, they're not coming back. But it's because they don't need one. They know it. They just haven't mastered it yet in their speaking. So I just want you to say do or does, depending on the subject I give you, all right? Very simple. You. I. It. We. She. They. He. Oh my God, you're so good. That was so difficult. It sounds silly, but with my upper intermediate students, I'll do this. If they still make mistakes, that's the only way to fix it very quickly, very efficiently. We're just going to drill it. I might not start with pronouns, honestly. That's for very low levels, because that's a way of building up in difficulty and confidence to make sure that System 2 doesn't wake up. You do not want System 2 to wake up at the automate stage. If it does, you need to go back. I don't want System 2 to wake up, so I always start slow and really easy, and we're going to do a few of those, and you're going to challenge yourself to do it faster and faster, and then, for example, you introduce just normal nouns, things like that. You ready? Say do or does. Okay? Elvis. Bears. The Queen. Kate. Doctors. Teachers. So you see, I don't have a timer. The class is too large. I will put you in pairs. But a good way to stress as well is not wait. If the person starts answering, you start the next card. It's also a way to stress the brain of the student and to get them to pow, 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 pow. This is very easy. All you need are a few cards with subjects on them. No big deal. And what you can do with that is just add more and more cards to have more and more games. Cards with subjects, cards with verbs, cards with time phrases. And same thing, practice 2. Very simple. All you need to do is just make sure that the students are stressed so that System 2 pushes the information to System 1, and that the students are confident. If they're not confident that they're on solid ground, you can't move System 2. So what can you do with tense build? All these cards. Loads. The do-does race? It's nice, Antoine, but it's a bit silly. Why is it always do-does? Well, it's just because we're starting slow. If they're beginner elementary students, let's start slow. Let's build up. But then you add verbs. And maybe you give them a dice. You tell them, okay, if you roll 1 and 2, positive. If you roll 3 and 4, negative. If you roll 5 and 6, question. It's fine, right? There are loads and loads of activities you can do like that. You add time phrases if you like. If you want the students, you've covered a few tenses for some time. I mean, A1, A2 level students, they should know past, present, and future like the basic. And honestly, to travel, you're fine, right? As long as, again, they have that flexibility, they can adapt. So the time phrases, that's what they're here for. All of a sudden, they have to quickly make the sentence. They unflip the cards, quickly make the sentence. So, you dance in the street every morning at breakfast. Oh, well, that's already done. Dragons play the piano well right now. Dragons are playing the piano well right now. Sherlock worked from home last Christmas. Our neighbor will attack my cat tomorrow. My friends and I have been snoring loudly since my birthday. I baked a cake yesterday. Good job, Antoine. You did that in 9 seconds 34. Okay. Shuffle. What do you think is a good challenge for me now? 9 seconds, what did I say? 9 seconds 34? What's a good challenge for me? 7? Nobody thinks I can do it in 6? How can you judge what is a good challenge? How you feel. But you have to feel you have to help the students here. It's not about you, it's about the students. So the accuracy is very important. If I notice mistakes here, I need to go back, right? Well, too many. Students will make a few mistakes here, it's normal. And you'll see a lot of self-correction and peer correction at this stage. Because the students, they don't feel like, it's not a fill-in-the-blank activity. The teacher's not testing me. They feel that they're just challenging themselves. And so they self-correct. If there's no self-correction, you'll see that other students will correct each other because, hey, yeah, he did it faster, but he made a mistake. Doesn't count. If you need teacher correction at this stage, you need to go back to P1. That's your sign, basically. And I would say for challenges, the margin of progress depends on how well they already know it. So if you're drilling he, she, it plus S at A1 level, then at the beginning it's going to be very slow and you're going to have a big margin of progress. Give them big challenges. My upper intermediate students, they won't have that big a margin of progress. I need to know that. If they try to take 5 seconds away from their answers, probably not going to work. So the margin is there, okay? Same cards, but let's combine. Short answer race on steroids. So here you have both students actively playing. It's not just one is listening or timing, something like that. One student unflips the cards and needs to make the question. The other student is behaving in this race as the short answer person. So they need to answer. So very quickly, okay, you dance the street. Do you dance in the street every morning at breakfast?
No, I don't.
Are dragons playing the piano well right now?
No, they are.
Okay. Did Sherlock work from home last Christmas?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did? He's dead. Nothing to do with real life. Nothing to do with real life. This is literally deliberate practice. We are just drilling. We need to know, we need to understand this connection between System 2 and System 1 to build it slowly. The students are building up in confidence and you're building up in difficulty so that gradually the information, whatever you taught them is moved from System 2 to System 1. You don't always need cards for that. I like doing King of the Mountain for conditionals. So if you want to be King of the Mountain, you got to climb all the way up to the mountain. You can do these in card formats as well, like sentence drills and things like that. You just give your students a beginning of a sentence and they have to complete it as fast as possible. Because that's it, really. So, if it was very cold outside, you would stay at home. You wouldn't come to in the corner, 5 minutes.
After you.
There are 4 corners, we'll be fine. Thanks for coming from Perm. I would study French if... Says the teacher. I would spend more money on my hobby if... I would spend more time on my hobby if... If I had a hobby. I wouldn't be late if... They wouldn't be busy if... They wouldn't be busy if... They didn't have a hobby. I was going to go, they hadn't come to Dimitri's conference. It's Sunday, come on. What would you be doing right now if you hadn't come to the conference, huh? Not much? King of the Mountain, same principle, okay? You give them limited time, they have to do it as fast as possible. They climb up the mountain. You quickly have some follow-up. Like, hey, how did it go? Like, let's review and everything. And then you start again. Deliberate practice is really all about repetition and quick feedback. Tell the students how well they did, the time and everything. You've got to engage the students at this level. This is very engaging. You got to show the students that, hey, guys, good, okay? You didn't reach your challenge yet, but hey, you're doing better. You're doing faster. You're making less mistakes. We're building the reflexes. And again, like with grammar tenses, as I said, you see, here it's all second conditionals, but then we'll have King of the Mountain for third conditionals, and then we'll mix them. You know what? I don't even know why we teach mixed conditionals. It's the silliest thing ever. If you do this, practice 2, deliberate practice, these kind of activities with your students, and they automate second conditional, they automate third conditional, after some time you give them a King of the Mountain, which has both, they're naturally going to make mixed conditionals because it's automatic. Second conditional is automatic, third conditional is automatic, so mixed conditional is already automatic. No point in teaching it whatsoever. Does this look like a P2? Does this look like a P2 activity? It looks like P3, huh? This, all of a sudden, is more speaking, right? It looks different. It doesn't look like a drilling activity. So what do I want to do at P3 level? Do you remember? I want to test and develop fluency. How can I test fluency? Speak. It's very broad. Remember my definition of fluency? Flexible use of what you know. Whatever your level is, you can be fluent at that level if you can use flexibly what you know. That's what I want to test. And that's where I would argue that, you know, all those production activities, they don't always provide us with a good fluency test. They're very engaging. They're a lot of fun. The students love them. If you have a good speaking activity or a good production activity, it can take 40 minutes, it can take 50 minutes of a lesson because it's real life, it's really interesting, the students are engaged, they're participating, but they also prepare, right? Most production activities, they prepare. And this doesn't show me the flexible use of what they know because there are some students that just, hey, we're supposed to do job interviews. I think Antoine wants us to use some present perfect here and some of the vocabulary about jobs that we learned last lesson. Let's prepare that. I don't want my students to do that. That is not a good test of fluency. I have 3 questions that I always ask myself when I'm testing fluency. It's going to sound silly, but it's very important. What are my students using? Right? What mistakes they're making? And what they're avoiding. And you'll see, we'll come back to that after we test your fluency. I want you to remember those 3 questions because they're going to help me prepare the next lesson. So P3 activities are different to production activities in the way that they're pushing our students to just react. These are little cards with little prompts on them, basically. Just a first line of a dialogue. And the students need to react. It's fun because it's weird. So it engages the students, and the students are absolutely not focusing on, oh my God, what does my teacher want to hear, and things like that. And you just listen to that. What are they using? What mistakes they're making? What they're avoiding? So I want to show you first type of P3 activity. We call this convince. It's very simple. On each card, student A reads it and tries to convince student B to do, say, or think whatever is written on there. Okay? There's only one rule. You can't agree. Student B can't say yes, or else the dialogue's just over. So that's the only rule at convince, okay? Give me your shoes. Tomorrow? I kind of need them right now. Tomorrow I'm in St. Petersburg. Different size? Have you checked? Actually, my feet are a little smaller, so I can fit in your shoes. It's fine.
You should grow up.
What do you mean I should grow up? I should learn to buy my shoes?
To fit my shoes.
Ah, okay. That's not going to happen. I think it's done.
Alas.
But if they're bigger, it's fine. My feet are going to fit. If they were smaller, it would be a problem. Come on, give me your shoes.
It's not your color.
Huh?
It's not your color, sorry.
It's not my color. I didn't even know I had a color. I'm terrible at fashion. Sorry?
It doesn't match your suit.
I'm not sure anything matches. Fashion. If you have any fashion advice, please. I'm happy to take them because really I have no sense in fashion whatsoever. Did you see what happened here? It's just a simple, communicational purpose to convince other people. This happens all the time, every day. We always try to convince each other of something. It doesn't have to be a big business negotiation or a big political situation in every life.
It didn't sound natural.
Did-
This kind of conversation.
Did it sound that well about the shoes?
Yeah.
It's weird,
Really
but
weird.
were the reactions spontaneous and natural?
A little strange.
Don't listen.
Okay.
Well, the focus here is really the production activity. That's where you analyze what your students say. Here at P3 activities, you're just thinking about how they're saying it. Is it fluent? Whatever you are trying to automate, hey, I said it, he immediately said tomorrow. That's a good reaction. A bit like... I think someone wants to share something with the group. Yes, he could have reacted with a very nice swear word. But he didn't. Thank you.
He meant it.
You think he meant it? You're Russian. Tomorrow means tomorrow, right? We're direct, we're honest here. We talked a lot about that yesterday. The whole point of these little activities is exactly that. And similar to P2, I'm going to use these 10, 15 minutes in a lesson because my students are having fun. They're developing their fluency. They're learning to react like this to things like, what? They're developing their fluency and I am just listening. What they're using, what mistakes they're making, what they're avoiding. Tell me a story. Really, any story. I'm kind of bored here. It's a beautiful city, but it's raining. I can't go anywhere. So, after my speech, can you tell me a story?
Yes, of course.
But the yes came from over there.
Watch your film.
Sorry?
Go and watch a film.
That was super mean. Tell me a story. I'd go watch a film.
Give me a plot.
It's fun. Sorry?
Give me a plot.
I should give you the...
And the characters.
How are you telling me a story if I'm giving you the plot, the characters?
Sorry, just give me a plot.
But that is the story.
It's just a plot. I don't know what kind of.
Okay, so I should deliver just a dry plot and you'll emotionally deliver it.
Yeah.
Okay. Works with me, but remember, never say yes.
You agree?
Sorry?
You agree?
We're not that strict in the activity. The general consensus when you're playing this with students is just, hey guys, just at the beginning, you can't just agree because there's no point to it. After that, you'll see that students, the goal of this activity, you'll see that the students are speaking here because it's fun, not because they're trying to reach the end goal. Because convincing someone, I'm not really going to take his shoes, right? Trust me. I'm a foreigner, but I'm not that weird. Convince. Other types of activities like that, P3. We have one we just called shock. Shock, there are absolutely zero rules. Just react, okay? The situation, student A just picks a card, reads it, and student B reacts. Whatever. I think there are too many birds.
Which kinds of birds?
I'm sick and tired of birds. There are too many birds. They're everywhere. I don't see the point of them.
Should probably get rid of them.
We should get rid of them, right?
Do you have a gun?
I do not own a gun.
Okay, we should just go to a local gun shop.
Yeah?
In Russia it would be easier. Oh no, we should do it live somewhere.
Easier than where? Easier than Europe? Yes. Easier than the States? I'm not sure.
In the States.
It's hard to get a gun in Russia, no?
You need a license, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's that easy.
Okay, we're gonna shoot birds. What kind of training?
So you want to just go, like, finish the conference? Guys, you want to shoot birds? There are too many birds, right? Everybody's really annoying us with global warming, ecology, but in fact, there are too many birds. Agreed? No? Pigeons. Let's agree to get rid of the pigeons. Pigeons, yes? Pigeons are not birds, right? They're parasites. Uh-huh. It's very funny because please look at the eyes of pigeons. They have my flag in the eyes. Being Belgian is ridiculous. Are you afraid of babies too? You're not afraid of babies? You're so courageous. Huh? How sexist. This is the 21st century, lady. I'm offended. So because I'm a man, I should be afraid of babies?
Yes.
You just changed my mind. I am absolutely not afraid of babies. There's absolutely no point to the activity. It's not real life. You're pushing your students for 5, 10, 15 minutes of the lesson into situations that are just fun. They have very short dialogues, and you are just listening. What are they using? What mistakes they're making? What they're avoiding. We'll quickly get to the P1, P2, P3, back to those questions. One last example, another type of activity you can do for P3. Yeah, well, I would force him to give me his shoes, for example. We'll get to that. I'll do brag, and then I'll show you. Brag is another type of P3 activity, because bragging, we do that a lot, actually, in real life. It's, again, a natural communicational function. It doesn't mean we brag, blah, 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 but hey, this is pretty cool. We might brag for other people. So the point of brag is really weird, but you're going to brag about super weird things, and the other student is going to react. I keep this for higher level, because at this stage, you got to have a certain dexterity in your speech to play with it. Because you can react to this sarcastically. You can react to this with admiration. Wow, you're the coolest guy I know. There are a lot of different ways students can play with this, and again, they're developing their flexibility. Did you know I can count to 10 faster than anyone? It's pretty cool, right?
Prove it.
Prove it? I'm sorry, what? That is super rude. Why do I need to prove it?
Nobody can.
Nobody can, exactly. Nobody can prove it. Are you going to compare my time to every single person in the world? You're going to waste your life doing that? No, just believe me, okay? I think you should believe me because, hey, I have a microphone and I'm standing here, which clearly means that you should trust me, right?
No way.
This is the worst speech ever. Brag, again, same kind of thing. What are they using? What mistakes they're making? What they're avoiding? Why these 3 questions? Because P1, P2, P3, I like it because it makes sense. It's really logical, right? Pushing from system 2 to system 1. It's very simple. Even the students understand it. If you have difficult students, you know, why are we doing this, baby? Blah, blah, blah. Now I tell my students. I can present this in 5 minutes to students. I say, guys, you want to speak English fluently? We got to automate your skills. How are we going to do that? P1, P2, P3. It's simple to explain quickly to students, but actually there are a lot of deeper things in there. For us teachers, it's really efficient because I know exactly what to do for my next lessons after those P3 production activities. P1 activities are checking basic logic, right? Checking accuracy and basic logic. If I notice any mistakes at P1 level, what do? Next lesson. I go back. If the basic logic is not understood, something went wrong. It might be my fault. It might be a bad day. There are loads of reasons why. I might not have picked the right methodology for this particular element, for this particular skill. Doesn't matter. P1 level, if there are mistakes, too many mistakes, you know that there's no point going further. Next lesson, so at this stage, if I notice heavy mistakes here from my students, like, okay, Antoine, something went wrong, you need to come back to this next lesson, stop it. I always have contingency activities, like just in case, a big production, I tell them, guys, I'm really sorry, you didn't get it. Give me time, okay? Next lesson, I swear you'll get it. We'll do it in a different way. Right now, we're going to do this activity and we're going to revise or do it, just contingency. P1 activities, okay? P2 activities, if I notice mistakes at P2 level, what do? Continue drilling? Go back to the presentation. It all depends on the mistakes you'll see. You'll see when your students are drilling these activities, you'll see if you see students that keep making mistakes, then yeah, there's a mistake. You need to get back to P1. Their system 2 is not confident yet enough. If you see, if there are a few mistakes and it's mainly self-correction, peer correction, continue P2s.
Depends on the level, right?
It depends on the level. You might not want to add difficulty. You'll spend more time on just that P2. Okay? And P3 level now. At practice 3, my 3 questions. What are they using? What mistakes are they making? What are they avoiding? It tells me, next lesson as well, what I need to include in my lesson plan. So, what are they using? That's my happy teacher question, right? Oh yeah, they're using it. Confident, I'm happy. They're using it well, cool. What mistakes are they making? The answer to that question tells me whether I need to include more P1s next lesson, or if I can just go directly to P2s. Because whatever I taught them in today's lesson, I'm not going to forget about it next lesson, right? There needs to be more elements. People don't just learn something, haha, and then it's over. It's going to tell me whether P1 or P2s, what mistakes they're making. I'm going to know if I need to consolidate their basic logic again, or if I can just continue automating because, hey, they're making a few mistakes. Doesn't matter. Everybody makes mistakes. We just need to automate it a bit more. And what they're avoiding tells me how many P2s and P3s I need to continue in this particular skill, because we know what our students know, and our students know what they know. It doesn't always match. Right? I taught you present perfect. Use present perfect. You know present perfect. The fill in the blanks, there were no mistakes. The students are not always confident. What they're avoiding is the answer to that question. I really like that question. When they're speaking, they're practicing, they're testing their fluency, I ask myself, what elements are they avoiding? What skills did we learn in this course that they could have used in this situation? And that tells me P2s and P3s. Previous skills that I might not have automated enough, or we automated like 3-4 months ago and then we didn't touch it all. It would be good to remind the students. And so I'll bring in P2, P3 activities. Remember, 5, 10, 15 minutes. I can just bring them in for warmers. Okay, I noticed at the last fluency activity that there are few skills that we learned 2-3 months ago that you could have used, but you didn't use them. You avoided them. I know that you mastered them 2-3 months ago. So next lesson, we'll start, our warmers will be either P2 or P3 activities of those skills. This really, really makes teaching more effective for my students, because drilling, again, we're not reinventing the wheel. We all drill. But we need to drill, I highly recommend, Daniel Kahneman, we need to drill in an efficient manner. It needs to go from system 2 to system 1. just drilling for drilling sometimes is pointless. And it's way more efficient for me as a teacher. I can plan my lessons pretty rapidly now. All I need to focus on are the topics. But I know exactly what kind of exercises I need. Questions? Where did... My question lady, where were you? Ah, there you are.
Don't understand how exactly do you test fluency in your B3 period. Like, of course, the teachers here and they can understand what you're doing and actually can speak English quite well, but the answers they produced were like one word, two words. It's because what you're doing is like puzzling your students, yeah, making them I don't know, uncomfortable.
Yes.
Maybe it's part of the method, yeah, I don't know. But how exactly do you see that they have become fluent? Like if they say, well, tomorrow, or I don't know, no, I can't. But it's C1, it isn't really testing fluency, right?
It is actually. Remember the difference between accuracy and fluency. So I really don't like the fact that now we separate both and we end up with some students who are very accurate but like afraid of speaking, and some students who are very fluent but they're making mistakes everywhere. I want to marry both. That's my objective for my students. And so you're right. For example, the first reaction tomorrow. It's not high level. Like, it's not C1, C2, it's just tomorrow. But how fluent is it? It's actually very fluent, very natural. It's a very natural reaction. The student doesn't need to construct a sentence, I will maybe give you this tomorrow. No, it's a very fluent reaction, tomorrow. You can ask a native the same thing and the reaction will probably be very similar. Just pum. One word, two words, that's fluency, that's real life conversations. That's what I'm pushing my students into. And they're distracted by the fun aspect of the conversation, but I am paying very close attention to those three questions. What are they using? What mistakes they're making? And what they're avoiding. And you will see what these kind of reactions, basically small reactions, unnatural, it will happen at the beginning. I use these for 5, 10, 15 minutes every lesson. After a month or two, you wouldn't believe how fluent the students are. Any situation, they can flexibly just adapt and up. I got this skill, this will be useful. I got that skill, this will be useful. Pam, pam, pam. I react very naturally. It really develops the fluency, and I don't know, my 3 questions clearly tell me if I'm happy with the reactions of the student. It tells me exactly what I might want to work on with this guy next lesson. And it tells me, it shows me if the student is more or less comfortable reacting like that. Or if the student needs the script of the book. That's the only format I know. You see what I mean? Yeah? Any other questions?
Dear colleagues, I'm really sorry to interrupt your Q&A session, but Antoine is here. Yeah, if you would like to continue the discussion, please come and talk to him. Thank you very much, because we need to continue, all right?